Hey guys, how are you tonight? I am here and I hope I'm not frozen. Getting everything all set up for us. All right, looks like we're in. So, how are you guys all? I am turned a different direction. I'm liking it because, that's what I do. And let me get the right camera up here so I can see. There we go. I can see me now. I don't know if that's a good thing, but whatever. So I am doing some applique stuff. You guys may remember Miss Sunbonnet Sue. I will put the link in the description, but this is, let's see, Sunbonnet Sue, and it is from www, if it'll let me type in my own box here, quilterscash.com. There we go. And send that through for you. I guess that I can put links up in my own chat, right? So this Sunbonnet Sue is from Quilter's Cash. And the reason I chose this one is because it fit on the blocks that I had already cut, with 10.5-inch blocks that I cut out of a bed sheet. So I'm like, okay, that's great. So then I started cutting these out on heat and bond. And here's the first block I made. And then I did the second one. And then I sat here and I figured out, hi, Colleen, how many of these blocks it would take to make a twin size quilt. And I think I figured to get like 78 by 90, I need 40 something blocks. Hi, Nancy, how are you? And while I can sit here and cut out 40 something blocks, it's going to take me a while. And we all know Arthur doesn't like for me to do repetitive motions a whole lot. So I thought I need to figure out how to get this into my brother's scan and cut. So I've sat here for days now and I've watched videos. Thank you, Becky, Power Tools with Thread. I have watched a ton of videos trying to figure out how to do this, and I got success. You guys may have seen my short earlier. This is the apron pieces for my blocks, and these are tiny. These are, I don't know, 3 inches by 2 inches or something. And I thought, I've got to get this done. So I'm going to show you guys how I made that happen in case you have a scan and cut. You may have to do slightly different if you've got a Cricut. Tonight, we're just going to concentrate on scan and cut. And then in a few days, or if there's a big call for it in the comments, I will, excuse me for a second. I will go through how to do this with a Cricut instead of with a scan and cut. I think the scan and cut is easier. This is the whole reason I bought the scan and cut, was so that I could do fabric this way. So I'm like, yay. But before we start on that, I need to do some housekeeping, right? So Colleen is almost at 1100. She's 1090 something. Once you get over 1000, you can't see right down to the number. So I know that she's 1090. I don't know what the rest of that is, but that's awesome. She only got to 1000 like 2 weeks ago, right, Colleen? And Sylvia is at 814. Same thing with Sylvia. She only got to 800 a couple of weeks ago, and she's already at 814. And Sylvia has started a new series of shorts that she's doing, and hopefully she'll be doing some longer stuff too. But her shorts are on genealogy and family tree research. So I'm loving it. Oh, awesome. 5 more to get Colleen to 1100. Yay, that's awesome. But anyway, so she's doing genealogy shorts, and I'm learning something from her about how UK's genealogy stuff works. Yeah, I know you have a Cricut. Remember, I struggled with the Cricut last year trying to get the chickens in there. And now that I've figured out how to get them into the scan and cut, I think I have an idea of how to get them into the Cricut too. So I'll roll my eyes at myself. You guys can laugh at me. And there's Sylvia's link. Hello, Giovanna. How are you today? Is it Giovanna or Giovanna? Gia, I think is what you said to call you the last time I saw you. Anyway, good evening. Hello. How are you? Do you have a brother? Oh, hello, Shirley. I'm glad you stopped in. Have fun on your Zoom meeting. I hope it's fun. And not something bad. I hope it's like visiting with family or something. I really want to get into that for my group. I asked her this morning, Colleen. She's doing, or actually this afternoon in Lori's chat from Quilting in the Country. Lori cut her hair. Looks really good. If you guys haven't seen it, you should go check it out. So Sherlock Sews has a silhouette. Do you want? I'm going to show you on the brother anyway, and then we'll go back and we'll do the silhouette. I think I figured out what the hang up for me was on the Cricut when I was trying to do it before. So I think I can show you how to do that too, but I'm going to walk you guys through how to do this. Miss Shirley, I think, is still trying to get her meds all balanced out, but she's not doing badly. Are you back? Are you doing a Zoom meeting because you're live, or are you doing videos? Yeah, that's the worst. Have they got you wearing compression socks? Oh, I wear them sometimes. I hate them. They're warm. That's the only thing that they've got going for them. Giovanna, I don't want to say your name wrong if I can help it, but I appreciate that. At least you understand that it's not always easy for Americans to wrap our slang tangled tongues around proper names in other countries. And I love it though. When I go like I have friends who are, well, I have friends who are native Hispanic, and then all my stepdaughters are, and my daughters-in-law are Americanized Hispanics. But I love it the way they say my name. It's not Melissa, it's Melissa. And it's always so musical. It always sounds musical to me. Okay, so how many of you have even seen a scan and cut? Probably not a whole lot of you. Probably not in person anyway. You also go by Joe. Okay. Nancy, I think that Colleen was saying she didn't have time to chat because she was dealing with hubby. All right, so this is the other camera I set up, and it's not great, but it gives a little bit of a wider view for you guys. So when I hold stuff up, I don't feel like I'm trying to, cram it down your nose. All right, so this is the Sunbonnet Sue pattern that I'm working with. And the first thing I tried to do on here was I tried to scan it into my brother's scan and cut and then take it apart like this. This didn't work very well for me. So what I did, let me get this piece of paper here, is I did it a whole lot like I did whenever I traced onto Heat and Bond. Let's see if I can hold that up so it's straight. I drew out all of my pieces separately, and you can see I put that apron inside the dress. That's because when I go into the scan and cut, I can take that one drawing and move it off to the side. I will show you how to use that. So let's see if this is going to let me share my screen with you guys here. I am screen sharing, so I want to go into here. And this is my design space, Canvas workspace. And I've already uploaded my file. It's not going to let me bring it in. See if it'll let me open it here. Okay, over here on this, I got to move myself out of my way so I'm not looking at me. Over here on this side, I have all of my layers hidden. I'm going to clear my space. You have to go to. And then I'm going to open up so that you can see all of my layers. Come on. I want to see all of them, not just 3. You mean little thing. It's not doing what I want. Let me show you here. Okay, so it's going to make me scan it again, which is fine. We can do that. So with the Brother Scan and Cut, you have yeah, it's an error. You have this black mat, and this black mat has a piece of plastic over the top of it. And that piece of plastic is to keep your piece of paper on your scanning mat. And I'll just walk you through how to do this. Turn your scanner on. Ooh. Are you doing the same bag that Marie did? That bag is pretty. That bag is pretty. Marie said something earlier about she got an order for one when she was on the bus today or out and about. Okay, so I've got my scan and cut turned on, and I'm going to scan this and bring it into my design workspace. So give me half a second to do this. Get this started. I don't want to retrieve anything. I want to scan. And Lori, this part would have to be done on a Cricut, on a different machine. You need to get your pattern into your computer somehow. I'm scanning to cut data on here. And scanning to cut data just means I'm getting it into the system. With a Cricut, you would need to scan it into your system and then bring it in through Design Space. And I will explain what that all means whenever I do the Cricut. Oh, it's fairly expensive for sure, Giovanna. But it gives me, it lets me do things that I can't do otherwise. I'm just getting it scanned into the Design Space so I can import it. Thank you very much. Let's go back over here to screen share. Come on, computer, catch up with me. Okay. I want to go over here to import from your cutting machine, and I'm going to click on scanned image. I did scan the image on my machine, and I did send it. Thank you. This is going to make me mad. No, I don't want to delete the data. When it comes up, it's going to bring me in. I didn't go to Zoom earlier and make sure that Zoom had it. Okay, so this is the Sunbonnet Sue file that I saved earlier. And since it's not letting me show you guys my image here. Hello, Catherine. How are you? No, the scan and cut is about, I think I paid $7 per month, 700. It wasn't super expensive. I have the DX 325, which is not the newest model. So that may be, it was when I bought it, or it was close to the newest model, but this one doesn't have the Disney patterns on it that they were pushing. Okay, so what I've got here is I've already moved all of my pieces. First brought the image in is I just moved all of the pieces that I needed to keep off onto the sides of my mat, highlighted my mat and hit delete to make sure that there wasn't anything on there that I didn't want on there. And that's one thing with Cricut, whenever you try to bring in an image, you have to sit and do that by hand in their design space. And this is called workspace. This is not called design space. But on Cricut, you have to sit there, and I've got a video up about how to bring in a shape. Yeah, yeah, they're not $2,000. Um, Joe, you're right. There is a lot of stuff with it. I looked at the AccuQuilt Go back whenever that was, well, when I first started having issues with the arthritis, because cutting things is sometimes hard for me. I use a Martelli rotary cutter, and the AccuCut, there's like 43 different versions, I guess, but I would have been looking at the electric one. And then you have to buy each die separately. And the cheapest die I've seen for that was like $30. And you couldn't like tell it to do something different. You had to use exactly the dies that they had. So I rolled out the AccuCut pretty quickly. Um, I did have a Cricut. I bought it thinking that it would cut fabric for me. And I fought with it last year for like 4 months. Yeah, I fought with the Cricut last year for like 4 months trying to figure out how to get the chicken salad applique pieces into the Cricut to make that quilt. And I never did figure it out. So I was like, okay. And I tried scanning it in. I tried all kinds of stuff. I have a different method I'm going to try now and see if that works for the Sunbonnet Sue. But then I watched Becky at Power Tools with Thread put the chicken salad into her brother's scan and cut and get them all cut out with like almost no issues. So I was like, okay. And it took me a while to talk myself into it. What finally convinced me is I had surgery in 2021 and ended up with my hands numb for almost 6 weeks. So they were like numb all the way down to here. And I couldn't cut anything for that 6 weeks because it was too dangerous. I could, probably cut my finger or something. And that was part of the reason we went ahead and decided to get this because the doctor tells me that it can come back and it can be progressive. So I would still like to be able to quilt, but cutting is the part that's dangerous for me. So anyway, so I've got all my pieces saved in here. And over here on the right hand side, you can see all of my shapes, and there's an eyeball right there. If you can see that, that goes to this foot, and I can go over here and I can click on the eyeball and it hides the foot. So if I want to, and this is what I've been doing today, I can go in here and hide all of the shapes except the one I want to cut. And you'll notice when I click on a particular shape, it highlights over here. So I can just hit the eyeball and hide it. Does that make sense? Yeah, Giovanna, are you saying wow because they told me it's progressive? Yeah. So it is possible that I could lose all feeling in my hands, and I'd prefer not to do that if I can help it. But I would still like to be able to quilt and sew and do, all the other stuff that I do. So what I'm going to do now is I have a piece of the layer cake that I have designated for this. I hope you guys can see that purple flower. I want to cut some of these dress shapes out of here. And I can go up here and put this on here. And then I can right click on it and hit duplicate. And then click here and turn it to wherever I want it so that I can fit the maximum number of this shape on here. That didn't do what I wanted. So I'll just right click on it and hit delete. Go back over here, I've got this out here, and I want to make absolutely certain, because if you start pulling on these buttons, you can bring it out of shape. I can lock it so that you can't change the size of one of these. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, this will do a lot of things that I wasn't aware that the brother could do. But Becky at Power Tools with Thread is a great teacher. I had 6 on here earlier. I'm going to try to get one more on. And I can tell looking at the grid on here, each of these little squares is an inch. And I have a 10-inch by 10-inch piece of fabric that I want to cut. So I can pretty much tell how many I can get on here. I got to trade one mat for another. Now I have decided that I'm going to do at least these first few without heat and bond on the back, because I want to put them into my embroidery machine. Yeah, Joe, the arthritis has gotten progressively worse. But I had sepsis in 27, right after we moved out here. Now, let me tell you, when we moved out here, I packed up our 3-bedroom apartment. I helped load the U-Haul. I helped unload the U-Haul. And we had been here, I don't know, 4 days maybe. And I started getting really sick. And I'm not a nap person, or I wasn't. Let me say that way. I wasn't a nap person. And so I started getting really sick, and I was sleeping during the day, and I never sleep during the day. Ended up, I had sepsis, and the sepsis apparently started a chain reaction and kind of kicked the RA into gear. Now, what I just did is I put that 10-inch by 10-inch piece of fabric on my fabric cutting mat. And I want to go home here. Okay, and then this pattern that I have showing on my screen, I'm going to go over here to File, and I'm going to click Export or Transfer. It's telling me that the items that are hidden can't be exported or transferred, which is fine because that's all the pieces. What's outside the dashed line? Okay. So I will group. And then I'll just move the whole little thing over a bit. All inside the red dashed line. And now I can send it. Still can't export that stuff. And now I'm going to transfer the FCM file, which is what this calls it, over here to my scan and cut. And I want to click on retrieve data. I'm going to retrieve it from the internet. It's showing me it's there. The reason this is called a scan and cut is because you can scan your mat and it will show you the background fabric. I'm sorry, was I broken up again? Especially when I'm trying to show different things. Sorry. Now on my screen, it will let me move things around so that I can see that they still fit. I don't want to make it smaller. Go back. I don't like days where it does this. We're going to cancel that. Because what I forgot to do over here was I forgot to ungroup. Now I need to send it over. You're sold on what? Or you're cold? I've got to retrieve data again. There we go. And now I can go into edit and edit one at a time. All right, machine, you're making me look bad. You ever have one of those days where you just go, what the heck? My machine can't be found. Wonder why that is. All right, now let's try. I'm fighting with it. Sorry, guys. There we go. Now it's going to let me do what I want. And what I'm doing is I'm deleting one of these dress pieces off of here. You're making me mad, machine. I need to move one piece so that it'll cut on this line. Of course it happens while I'm live, right? It wants to be a pain. Okay. So I'm only going to get 4, but that's fine too. And then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go over here. It says, please select, and I'm going to select cuts. And I'm going to start. And we're going to let this cut our dresses for us. You had the, yeah, my Bluetooth connection's fine. It's the internet here. It's actually plugged in. I've got a USB cable running between the two of them. And when I put this fabric down on this, don't you pull. When I put the fabric down on here, I made sure that I ran my hands over it. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice, Colleen? It's not so bad when it's something, you know, like a sewing machine. But when you're trying to show somebody how to use something, it's a real pain in the. Oh, you're in the future already, Jeff? That's awesome. So you're actually you're in Italy, right? Or are you in Australia? I think you're in Italy, but I'm not 100% sure. All right, it tells me it's finished cutting, and I'm going to unload the mat. Now, this is what the mat looks like so far, and we don't need the scan and cut up anymore. So we're going to go back over here. I'm going to minimize that. So this is what it looks like on the mat. Come on. I know there's a little glitch in this one that didn't get cut because I saw it. Lay down there. You don't have to stick. I don't need you there. So there's my skirt starting to come out. See, I told you there's a little glitch right there, which is because I didn't spend enough time looking at the silly pattern. And cut the first ones with no issue. But for me, this is a me issue, not a tech issue. But it cut, that's my dress piece, and I've got, what, 4 of them on here? So it cut them really quickly for me. And all I have to do is a little bit of catching those little edges that I missed in the pattern. But I've got 4 cut in just a couple of minutes. And it seems like, well, there's not a lot of waste with me. And you can put them as close together as you want, Sherlock, Lori. So if you know, want to put 4 or 5 on there, and because I didn't put heat and bond on the back of these, and I'm just cutting those little pieces. Hello, Lynn. How are you today or tonight? Just got into bed. Uh-oh, she's getting ready for work in the morning. You can move these closer together on your fabric, and I'll show you what's left here. And I will probably just throw this in my whatever's left in my scrap bin, because that's what I was doing earlier today, was just tossing the extra pieces. There's the other one. Almost hid you. I didn't want to do that. I've got my phone over here so I can see the chat up close. I was trying to figure out if I should take my glasses off before I went live, but I can't hear without my glasses, so taking them off was not an option. Ah, come loose. So here's 4 little dresses out of that. And they're going to get aprons set on top of them. So here's my apron piece. And this is what's left out of that 10 by 10. Now there's actually enough room there for another skirt, and I did have one on the screen, but when I tried to move it, it wouldn't let me navigate it over so that it stayed on here. You can cut it with SF101 on it. So, but I mean, I could get another bonnet, and if I wanted to, I can go into the scan and cut screen, and I can put one bonnet and one dress on, and then just set the 2 little official scrap pieces. I don't have to put all this extra stuff on there. I could lay it on the mat and then scan it, and then I can line that bonnet and that skirt up on those little scraps and cut those out. And what I may do, because these are my scraps from the stuff I cut earlier, what I may do is go in and use the smaller scraps. You see, like that one's my aprons. I may go in and use the smaller scraps to make shoes or to make sleeves to go on the dresses. So I can, because this will scan the fabric that's sitting on your mat, you can move things around. You can use even the little scraps of stuff. So if I wanted to go into my 2.5-inch square bin and set some of those squares on here, I could use those to cut out other pieces so I could get different colors in my quilt. So yeah, that's why I was like, yeah, sold on the scan and cut. I still love my Cricut. I'm not mad at it at all. But that was one of the reasons that I went ahead and said, pulled the trigger on this. You snoozed on the sofa? I wanted to take a snooze today, but I never made it that far. I got in here and was trying to figure out how to get a better angle for you guys to see what I'm doing. And I could not figure out how to get a camera over on this side so you could see what I'm doing with the scan and cut. And the scan and cut needed to be on a sturdier table, because the one I have my embroidery machine on, it all shakes. And once it starts cutting, you can't see anything. My camera that I'm looking into is sitting on another table up on a pedestal, for lack of a better word. So, but yeah, and that's how you can take a sunbonnet too. And my next challenge is going to be this one. And I'm trying to figure out if I can scan this in straight the way it is and then separate it once I get it into the workspace so that I can make this. And I have one of these hanging on my wall in my kitchen. This is coffee or tea cups, and it would be really pretty with some of the other fabrics from this line. So you have the Labor Day on the 1st of May. I'm trying to think. I think Labor Day here. Yeesh, I have to think about that. When is Labor Day? Memorial Day's in May, right? and Labor Day's in September, or is it the other way around? I never get them straight. I know Veterans Day is November 11th, and I know when Christmas and Easter are. Oh, I'll send you a picture of the crooked cups. That was actually a freebie I found on the internet somewhere. I was going through some of that stuff that I should have probably thrown away. You can do it with a Cricut. You had made it yesterday. And Lynn, the coronation is this week, Friday, right? So you guys are just going to have a really short week, aren't you? September is Labor Day. Okay. I always end up moving on Memorial Day. It seems like every time I move, it ends up being on Memorial Day. I have no clue why that is. I haven't figured that out yet. But the scan and cut, this is bare basics beginner stuff. I am not a power user of the scan and cut, but my big thing is applique. The coronation is Saturday. Okay. Um, my big thing is applique. Yeah, we bought it on time. It's actually, I think we just paid it off. We like paid our $100 a month or whatever. In the US, there is a couple of places that carry it that accept Synchrony Bank, and that's how I did it. I was like, I really, 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 really want this and need it, and yeah, so I got to use it. Got to use it. But that was the reasoning behind it, is because the arthritis is getting worse and the numbness is supposed to get worse. I pray that it doesn't, but you know, and there's a lot of things I can do with it besides just applique. Oh, and you get an extra day off on Monday. Awesome. Well, that'll be nice, I guess. I'm kind of interested in watching it because it's history. You know what I mean? But I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't mean to me what it does to people in the UK. But I probably will watch. It'll probably be the only coronation I'll ever see in real time. I watched the Queens because I watched the TV show The Crown. And after they did their spin on it, then I went back and watched. I found it on YouTube, the old version. So, yeah. You don't know how we keep track of holidays? I don't know. I don't keep track of birthdays well. I actually need to send out to all four of my daughters and ask for. Yes, I'm like, how would I ever keep up? I got to figure out how much. If you gave them all $5 a year, I don't know. I don't know. We used to get my first husband's grandmother. I don't know how she did this. I guess there just weren't very many grandkids, but she used to give all of the grandkids $50 for their birthday. And I don't think that they had but like 3 or 4 grandkids. So that's not too bad. There are different crickets and there are different scan and cuts. Um, and there is a pricing difference. And if you're like, I'm not a power user. So Sherlock, you've got a cricket. So yours is already bought and paid for. But if you're looking for one, a lot of people upgrade as soon as the new machine comes out and they sell the old one. So you might be worth looking on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever kind of buy and sell groups that you have to see if you can find one inexpensively. And a lot of people, even if they've bought the machine and used it, they are either at the point where they're like, okay, I'm not going to use this anymore, or I've outgrown it, or I decided I don't like this, and you could look around too. There are other machines that cut vinyl besides the Cricut, the Brothers Scan and Cut, and the Silhouette. A friend of mine bought one, starts with a Y, before I ever bought my Cricut. And they use theirs to make commercial signs. They use it to make like the signs you see on the side of vehicles and stuff. Yeah, yeah. But they make those signs, and they've made signs for businesses to put up. So their machine cuts a bigger swath. It'll cut up to, I think, 48 inches wide by 48 inches. And I've seen the machine at work, but I was always like, I don't think I want to deal with that thing. But they've made quite a bit of money off of that. And there is an opportunity to use those machines to make money if you get good at it. But I'm not that motivated. Not with, I don't want to go sell cups and t-shirts and stuff on the local buy sell group. I'll do the work to build my YouTube channel, but I'm not really interested in dealing with people. It is too peoply out there, Joe, and I get it. Yeah, I think you've got a maker. You've got the same Cricut that I do, Sherlock. So that'll be a whole lot easier for you to learn how to use. Or for me to help you learn how to use, because I have the same machine. Now, the one advantage to the Cricut, in my opinion, over the Brother is that there are a lot of aftermarket supplies available for the Cricut that aren't available for the Brother. On the Brother Scan and Cut, you see that these have like colors on them, and then these markings down here. I don't know if you can see those. Those are like the old floppy disks, or those cards that we used to have for time cards. The machine reads that. Yeah. And that arrow means it has to go in that way for the machine to recognize it. And these mats, in my opinion, are thinner than the Cricut mats. That's not my opinion, that's a fact. They're thinner than the Cricut mats, and there are no aftermarkets for these yet. But one cool thing I did find out, and I tried it today because it's the first time I've had to clean my mat. This stuff, it is called LA's Totally Awesome. The only place I've seen that has it is the Dollar Tree. This was $1.25. Wayne got it for me today. And I sprayed it on this mat, which was covered. And you can't see how much, well, yeah, I guess you can. It had even more stuff on it this morning than it does now. Plus, it still had some residual paper from Heat and Bond. I sprayed a little bit of this on it. I wiped it off with a baby wipe, and it was actually pristine. And then I thought, oh, I have scrubbed too hard because I was afraid I'd taken the sticky off. So I set it aside to let it dry, and it went right back. I don't know if you can see how my finger's sticking, but it went right back to sticky after I used that. So the cleaning stuff for it isn't expensive. $1.25, I can live with that. The Cricut mats are a little tougher to clean than that. Not lots, but they're a little bit tougher to clean. You don't get the sticky. Yeah, and Sherlock, sometimes the only way to learn it is just to get in there and play with it. And that's basically what I've done the last couple days. Is I just was determined I was going to sit down, I was going to figure it out. And then I went over to Becky at Power Tools with Thread and, looked for the answers to the questions that I had. Now, she can do things with her skin and cut that I can't do by miles. The next step is I want to take that file that I saved into the scan and cut computer. I want to export it so that I can turn it into an applique. In June is the plan to start learning your Cricut. Okay, that's fine. But I want to turn it now into, I need to go into Simply Applique. I have that and in Brilliance. And apparently Simply Applique is one of the modules of the Brother embroidery program a lot of people always have. Yeah, Colleen, you and your serger. Joe, it doesn't need glue put back onto it yet. And I have heard that somewhere, but I don't know if it was recommended or not recommended where I heard it at. So I'll have to go look for that. But I do have spray non-permanent glue here. I use it for basting. So I may try that once everything's done, once I get the rest of the stuff figured out. So that's the next thing I've got to figure out. And I will put up a video for what I did tonight that records everything. But I kind of wanted to give you an idea of where I'm going. And then we can build, it's a skill builder series, right? You start with one thing and you work your way through that, and then you go in the next thing. Okay, Sherlock. Ah, that's too funny. But so that's the next thing is I want to turn it into an applique. And I didn't put heat and bond on these because I didn't really want to. But I may put heat and bond on some of the ones down the road. What I want to do is I want to be able to go over to my embroidery machine, to the flourish, turn that around so you can see it. And I want to have it tell me, okay, here's a trace stitch. Lay your piece of fabric on that. And I want to lay the piece of fabric on it. And then it'll stitch so it goes down. And then it says, okay, lay the next piece of fabric on top of that, and it puts down a trace stitch. And then it does a trace stitch around that. And then it goes and does all of the stitching around it. So I get a really pretty satin stitch, and I don't have to fight with the sewing machine to make it happen. That's where I'm going with this. So that's what I'm trying to get everything over to. And once I figure out how to do it with something simple, I mean, this is a 6-piece applique. Then I can do it with anything else that comes down the pike. And I saw some appliques recently that are, it's called a Baltimore block. And, oh, okay. Oh, okay, that's definitely, I'm not a paper crafter, I'm a fabric one, but yeah, that's awesome. That's something to learn. Thank you. I appreciate the tip. I will definitely look at that. Right now, my guru is Becky. Eventually, maybe I'll be somebody's guru. Who knows? But I am trying to learn it as I go. Um, but my goal is to make it, because I mean, if I'm going to make 40 of these blocks with these little bitty pieces, I am not going to want to sit here and hand embroider or guide my embroidery machine through 40 of these blocks. Is what used on an embroidery machine? These will be used in my embroidery machine, Nancy. That's the goal, is that I'm going to put my sunbonnet sew together blocks together with my flourish and show you guys how it works. That's what I was trying to do with the chicken salad, but I was under a time crunch trying to get the chicken salad out because I had made myself a schedule that it was going to be, 1 block a week for 12 weeks. And I didn't want to delay getting the blocks out there. Nancy, the scan and cut is a separate machine, but the scan and cut, the embrilliance program, Simply Applique, and the embroidery machine can be used together. They aren't all from the same manufacturer. My embroidery machine is from Baby Lock, but there is actually, I think it's called Luminaire. Don't quote me. You can actually take designs from your scan and cut, run them through Simply Applique, and Simply Applique will send them directly into your sewing machine. So you don't have to I don't have them close. I thought they were sitting right there. I have to plug a USB into my computer and then go plug it into the sewing machine or the embroidery. Definitely, Giovanna. I definitely will do that for sure, because Yeah, they don't last forever. Even the cricket mats don't last forever. I found cheaper versions of them, but that doesn't make them perfect or anything like that. It just means I found cheaper versions. But yeah, I'll try it before I throw a mat away. I mean, when I was watching a girl from Sewing Machines Plus yesterday, and she was showing her mat, and she said that before they came out with half cut, she would duct tape her mats together on the back because they would cut through the mats. And I thought, well, that was pretty clever. So I definitely will try that before I start tossing mats out in the garbage or anything. And I have sewn through a cricket mat and still use that mat. So I'm pretty practical, cheap, frugal, whatever you want to call me. I'm good with it. But yeah, I definitely will try to save things before I toss them. I've got a ring light over here. I ordered a second one. It came in and I popped the spring out of it the minute I got it, like before I even got it out of the box all the way. And I've got the spring sitting here because I'm going to try to put that spring back into that light. And the little vacuum cleaner that I got from Timu, after I used it the first time, I went to plug it into charge and it's never recharged. I can't even turn it on. I told Wayne, I said, well, it was free. And he said, yeah, but. So he's trying to see if he can figure it out. Death and electrocution. Yeah, electrocution is scary. I've gotten zapped a few times. No, no, never cheap, frugal. Yeah. Well, Colleen has been learning applique, and when she was first learning it, she was like, well, what kind of stabilizer do you use? And I'm like, before you go buy stabilizer, because I buy stabilizer in, paper towel size rolls. I don't know where that's sitting right now either. I moved everything today. But I buy stabilizer in these big, huge rolls, and it's like $16. But it's 50 or 100 feet or yards of it. It's a lot. And I told Colleen, good night, Lynn. You have a great day at work tomorrow and a nice sleep. Sleep well. Um, but when Colleen was talking about it, I was like, don't go buy that. Try dryer sheets or, paper towels or this, that, and the other, even cheap sheet material, until you know you want it. And the reason I told Colleen that isn't cheap, it's because Colleen hates mess. Colleen is that minimalist person. You know what I mean? And she doesn't, I mean, I hated for her to go buy a 16 or $20 roll of stabilizer, find out she hates applique, and then try to figure out what to do with this huge roll of stabilizer. Because, that's, I mean, for most of us, that's a decent investment in something that we want to, we might not use. So try the cheap options first. And if they don't work well for you, then go to the slightly more expensive ones. Now, for me, that 50-yard roll of stabilizer is worth it because I use my scan and cut all the time, or my baby lock flourish all the time. Right. She doesn't like extra stuff. There you go. That's the right way to put that. Yeah, coffee filters. I have coffee filters in my drawer up there. I have, I've never really used paper towels because I don't really like paper towels. But I have coffee filters in the house anyway for coffee. Why not? I can just use a couple of those for this. And they're cheap. I mean, 98 cents for 100 coffee filters goes a long way. Goes a lot longer way than 15, 16, $20 for a roll of stabilizer. So, and now Colleen has graduated to big girl stuff because she made a lot of applique. She did all those letters, and I think somebody sent her some stabilizer. Thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, I've used baby wipes before, especially ones that dry out. And you can re-wet them and use them still. You just don't want to if you're re-wetting them, you don't really want to use them on babies because tap water may not be clean. Yeah, newsprint, dryer sheets. Yeah, newsprint's a great. So is copy paper, for that matter. So is copy paper, like the stuff you normally print on from your home printer. That stuff works great as a stabilizer for stuff. And then my joke when I was doing the chicken salad was that my piece of stabilizer, I just kept using it over and over and over because you have to cut a piece of stabilizer big enough to cover the hoop. But I just kept moving it around. I was like, all I'm doing is putting a name on these chickens. So I just kept moving the stabilizer until I literally had used just about every part of it I could use. I only did 12 chickens. Yeah. And you can also stretch stabilizer if you're doing like first, and then the next size fish, and then the next one. And I either put, a scrap of stabilizer over the hole, or I put a piece of copy paper. Yeah, the thin copy paper, and then just lay that over the hole. And then I can use, I get the stabilizer as I do the bigger hole or the bigger fish. And what I found was they're round shaped fish. So they're like this. And then they have a little triangle for the tail. And then they have bubbles going up made out of buttons. And I was like, oh, that is too cute. So I'm going to make my own. But they have two or three different sizes of fish on there. So I thought I would try it and see how it comes out. Yeah, I have drawing paper too. Yeah, they don't. Does anybody get the newspaper anymore? I mean, we don't get it. We're too far out of town. Nobody's going to drive out here to bring us a newspaper. And our newspaper is 75 cents. It comes out twice a week. It's about 8 pages, and it's usually pictures of whoever is impotent. It doesn't really have any news. And I know the gal who does most of the reporting. She and I are friends on Facebook. So if there's something big going on, I'll message Kathy and say, "Hey, what's going on with so and so?" And she'll tell me. I mean, it's just gossip is all it is, really. Um, Although it was funny when she messaged me and said, "You have to read the story in the paper this morning about the county commissioners." Our county commissioners had a meeting in the thick of the pandemic, and our county commissioner is the moron who said, "Oh, just blow your hair dryer up your nose, it'll kill it." I was like, yeah. Yeah, we get the flyers from the supermarket in the mail. Stir, I only switched to evenings on Monday. I'm doing 7 p.m. on Monday nights and then 2 o'clock on Thursdays. Um, Couple of reasons for it. One of them is because Monday is always a crazy day for hubby, and 2 o'clock in the afternoon is usually when we get storms. So it just seemed to make more sense to switch over to Monday nights. And I need to move Thursday to early in the day, like 10 a.m. or something, and do Thursdays really early in the day so that I get the other half of my audience. But Wayne has a conference call every day at 10:30, and he's got one coworker that I really don't want to have to try to bleep out whenever we're trying to do a live, even with the door closed. The guy's great, the guy's super nice, but his mouth makes Marines and sailors blush, especially when they're having problems. He's like a blue streak, and yeah. But Monday nights, I'm switched to Monday nights permanently, but I'm still doing a daytime live on Thursdays. And then whenever we do sewing bees, and I don't know when the next one is, even if we've scheduled it, but when we do sewing bees, we do those during the day. We do them at 10 a.m. usually, 10 or 11, because if Sylvia's participating, that's actually already 2 or 3 in the afternoon. 2 a.m. I definitely appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us, Joe. Wow. Are you having insomnia, or is your schedule flipped? And I have been on chats with several people where it was like me and just them. You know, you go in because they're live, you don't get notifications. That's not cool. Do you want to double check and see if YouTube might have? YouTube does wonderful things. It unrings bells. Sylvia and Colleen, I have bells for. You know, I mean, they're definitely, I want to see when they go live or when they put something up. It keeps undoing the bell. And I'm like, that's the two I want to see all the time. Come on, get your act together, YouTube. Oh, that makes sense, Joe. I actually have just started trying. There we go. I've actually just started trying to take a nap in the afternoon, not because I want to sleep, but because it lets me put my feet up and put my hands up. And oh, I hate phone alarms, Colleen. I set one for you and for Sylvia. That's it. Um, but it lets me put my hands and my feet up and let everything kind of relax and helps with the edema in my legs, the swelling. So even if I don't sleep, I'm trying to make myself lay down for an hour or so. Thank you, Stir. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've had that happen too, but I look at Colleen and Sylvia's channels regularly, so I can tell when it turns the bell off. It's like, why are you doing that? It is good to nap. I think I read a study recently about it because I was like, well, you know, am I getting old or is this something I should do? And it said 30 to 90 minutes was ideal. So I'm trying to, you know, carve out an hour in the afternoons that I can lay down. Yeah. Well, you've got the same issues I do, Sherlock. And it's especially helpful for people who have immune disorders to lay down and just it's a relaxing thing. And the relaxing seems to help keep things from flaring. And I see my hands just flying all over the place there. Sorry. I got a glimpse of the phone out of the corner of my eye. Yes, and Sherlock is very good at holding her couch down. I don't rest in the living room. We have an adjustable bed, so I can raise my feet and raise my head, and you know, however I feel like uh, contorting myself that day. Yeah, it's good to unwind. You really need to. Yes, that's what I heard, Giovanni, is a nap is good for your heart. It's good for your swelling. It's really good for people who have anxiety issues. Yeah, it's definitely a recommended practice. It's not something that's, you know, that's skippable. It's good for your health. It's like washing your hands. You don't think about it, but you need to do it quite a few times a day. And taking that nap actually helps everything else regulate itself. Colleen, you don't have to go to sleep. It's the rest part of it. Just lay down and relax. Maybe you need to learn how to meditate. Am I the only one? Not all of you are in the US. I know this. But when I was in second grade, and I was born in 66, so I was in second grade in 71, 72, hippie time. And our second grade teacher, mine was named Mrs. Spiker, and she taught us how to do a meditation technique that has served me well over my number of years, where you literally you lay down and you deep breathe in and you imagine that you filled like your feet with white light or white air or whatever you want to call it, and then you take all of the stress and ick of the day and you breathe it out of your feet, and then you concentrate on your calves and then your thighs, and then your back and your butt and your, front and your head and your arms and hands. And that has just, when I was having babies, it helped. And when I've had, been sick the last few years and had to have surgeries and stuff, it's really helped. But I don't know if it was a if it was like something that she taught because she was a hippie, or if it was something that the school sponsored her to teach us. And that usually will put me to sleep. If that doesn't work, then I start writing books in my head. And God knows if I start writing a book, we're going to be awake all night. So I try to do the meditation first. Yeah, this actually has worked to help me relieve pain from some things. It doesn't work with all the arthritis pain, but it has worked with some other stuff. And it definitely calms me down. So it doesn't always calm me down, but for the most part, when I'm really stressed out, I literally will go find a spot and sit and do that just to try to make sure that everything is as kosher as I can make it. All right, so I am gonna start wrapping this up. I've been on here more than an hour, and I smell food, and I didn't eat before I came on, so I'm hungry. Dawn, right as I start wrapping up, check you out. Hello, hello. You still took the epidural even after the self hypnosis? I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you for that, stir. I wanted a natural, unmedicated birth. What I ended up having was 2 C-sections. So forget unmedicated. All I wanted was them to give me that shot of, I think it was Demerol that they gave you in the 80s and early 90s, right after you had a baby. And I had to have the shot of Demerol with the older one before they would let me get out of bed. With the younger one, I had to get out of bed before they'd give me the shot of Demerol. And I swear I still have knots high up on both hips. $35, $36, I don't know. 86 and 90. Oh no. Oh no. I'm quite certain if I'd had that first one natural, I wouldn't have had any more kids. One was, I was okay with the first one. And then I thought, okay, I want one more. Yeah. Ah, the night before I had that second kid, the nurse came in and I knew I was having a C-section. Nurse came in, she did her thing, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to go home. And she's like, it's a little bit late. So and they were supposed to tie my tubes, but baby ended up having problems. I had problems. He ended up in NICU, and I was just like, uh, yeah, so they didn't do it. And I ended up having to have it done a few years later. But I was like, oh no, 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 no more babies. You were 36 for your first one and did it without anything. Giovanna, my hat is off to you. My grandma had 10 all natural. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, I wasn't strong. I was a little wussy. Until, I don't know, I was wimpy after my second one was born. And then the next day they brought him in and I was trying to nurse him and his little fingernails were purple and he wasn't hanging on. And I was like, yeah, okay, Dawn, you do that. Um, and I called the nurse and I said, something's not right with my son. She's like, oh, you new moms. And I'm like, I already have a kid. there is something not right with my baby. And she came down and she picked him up, and his lips were blue and his fingernails were blue. And she went, "Oh, shoot." Boom. Took him down the hall. Oh, Joe, yeah. And if you decide you're going to have another, which I hope you didn't, because I think you're older than that, the next one will probably pop out when you sneeze. And then you'll be like, now what do I do? You'll be a Monty Python joke. It's what you'll do. I don't know if anybody else saw The Meaning of Life. Is that what it was in, where they were talking about the difference between Catholics and Protestants? I didn't get it the first time I saw it. 38. Wow. That's brave. That is brave. All right. So I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me, even through the technical difficulties. I apologize for that. I will do a practice. Oh, well, that's a good way not to have any more kids. I still have mine, but the rest of it's all been plugged up or cut or burned or whatever they did when they tied my tubes. Um, but I will see you guys Thursday at 2. I think Thursday at 2 is going to be live rather than pre-recorded, um, because I've got so much other stuff to do this week. I don't have time to pre-record a video. Um, so I will see you guys at 2 o'clock on Thursday. And hopefully everybody has a great day and a great week. And is there anything else I need to remember to tell everybody? I think that's it. All right, guys, have a great night. Love you all.